אהבת עולם תביא להם, אהבת עולם תביא להם, אהבת עולם תביא להם, אהבת עולם תביא להם, וברית אבות לבנים תזכור, וברית אבות לבנים תזכור, אהבת עולם.
Hello everyone, a Chodesh Tov and a happy Chanukah, and indeed that is the topic of today. Anytime you have a day in which you have various special events all lumped into one, I always like to ask the same question. Are they roommates or are they a married couple? Namely, is it that we happen to be on Tuesday, which is also Rosh Chodesh, which is also Chanukah, it just happens to fall out that way, but there is no connection between any of the above, like three roommates living in a room, or no, it's like a married couple. It's one new merged fused day called Rosh Chodesh Chanukah. When you look at Shachris, it seems very clear that they're roommates, but there's no connection. We davened the regular Shachris this morning with 19 blessings in the Amidah, and we added a separate prayer for Rosh Chodesh called Ya'aleh V'Yavo, a separate prayer for Chanukah called Al Hanisim, and therefore it seems very clear that the three do not merge. From this perspective, the same thing was true with the Torah reading. We read a Torah reading for Rosh Chodesh, we put away that Torah, and then we read a Torah reading for Chanukah, seeming that they're basically not connected. They just happened to fall out that way. Like the very classical answer that some give, why is it that indeed there is private mourning on Shabbos, and Shabbos does not abolish pre-existing mourning like Yom Tov? Says many that it's impossible to ever have a Shiva without a Shabbos. It's impossible to have a Shloshim without Shabbos in between. And therefore, it's impossible to have a Chanukah starting on Kaf Hei Kislev, ending 8 days later without a Rosh Chodesh. It just happens to be that way, but there's no connection between them. And if this were davening would have ended, I would have said Shkoyach. But we continue with Musaf. And in Musaf already, we do have a big question. It's not my question, it's the question of the Gemara. The Gemara in Masechet Shabbos, Daf Kaf Daled, Amud Aleph, 24a going into b, asks this question, and there's a difference of opinion. Do you mention Al Hanisim in Musaf? After all, Musaf only comes because of Rosh Chodesh. We don't bring a Musaf because of Chanukah. Therefore, do you mention Al Hanisim in Musaf? And the Gemara comes to the conclusion, yes. Just like you mention at Ne'ilah, which comes because of Yom Kippur, you mentioned that at Shabbos, so too, you mention Chanukah in the Musaf, leading us to maybe believe that they're merged into one. In other words, Yom Shenit Chayev Bo Arba Tfilot, says the Gemara. It becomes a day that instead of being obligated in 3 davenings, Ma'ariv, Shachris, and Mincha, we now have 4. And it's a new day. It's a merged day called Chanukah Rosh Chodesh. And my question is a very simple one. If that's the case, why only at Musaf? Why not at Shachris? And in my humble opinion, the answer is because Musaf is very different than Shachris. Shachris, you can daven even alone. You can daven for your own needs. There's 13 blessings of request, and ultimately it deals with the here and the now. And here and now, there are many people that are different and not necessarily united, but not so with Musaf. Musaf talks about the future. Musaf talks about a time where, God willing, we'll return to a temple, we'll have communal sacrifices that will be brought by one Kohen, but on behalf of all the Jewish people. There will be total unity around his sacrificial work. And when you talk about that, you can no longer talk about separations of any sort, not even separations of Chanukah from Rosh Chodesh. And therefore they merge into one. And even though we are davening Musaf because of Rosh Chodesh, Chanukah becomes part of that Musaf. When you talk about Musaf, you think of the Beit HaMikdash. You think about unity. You think about one sacrifice being brought on behalf of all the Jewish people. Not the Litvakin saying the Hasidim are no good and vice versa. Not the religious Zionists saying that the Haredim are no good and vice versa. Everyone united. And when everyone's united, indeed, there's no room for separations like we have by Shachris and even by Kriyas HaTorah. So today we went through two experiences. One was 3 roommates living in the same room by chance. But when we got to Musaf, it was indeed one fused Musaf in unity.